meeting of the Westford Conservation Commission for Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. The first item on the agenda for 7 p.m. is open forum. Members of the commission have items for open forum.
I was wondering if there was any update on the Nabnasset parcel over in the end of Hemlock with the bike paths being created there?
No, I do not have an update on that. I do have an update on the drainage basin off of...
Anne Marie?
No, Marie Ann.
Marie Ann?
Yeah, that one. It's the other side of town. And that was constructed as a drainage basin subject to a drainage easement, and conferred with the assistant town engineer about that. So while it is holding some water, it does look to be a constructed stormwater basin. And even some of the drainage from the Plain Road project is being directed to that as well, because they had a drainage easement available.
Did you hear anything about, I know you were also contacting, I think it was the school's principal about that trail?
I did. She said she was going to go out and check it, but then I haven't heard back.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for open forum? Matt, do you?
I do not. No.
Okay. Do members of the audience have any items they'd like to bring up at open forum? No. Okay. So moving on to our 7:10 p.m. agenda item.
7:05.
7:05, yeah.
Oh, sorry, 7:05. Continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for Noyes and Deegan, 6 and 8 Callista Terrace.
Thank you. You actually have a public hearing notice to read because we added this.
Okay. Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's Non-Zoning Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the Notice of Intent application of Ryan Noyes and Brian Deegan for the construction of a retaining wall and associated grading, portions of which are located within 100 feet of a bordering vegetative wetland at 6 and 8 Callista Terrace.
So good evening. For the record, Russ Tedford with Hancock Associates. So continued from last hearing, we came to the board with two sketches with alternatives to deal with the excessive slope located on the property line. So the revised plan submitted reflects the graded concept versus the stepped wall concept. And in turn, we submitted a revised Form 3, not re-notified, but notified new abutters that may have been encapsulated by adding 8 Callista to the Form 3, as well as the NOI application. And in turn, we had submitted a general agreement that was drafted by both property owners that, basically just states that Ryan Noyes, the owner of 6 Callista, this is his project. In no way financially or liability-wise is Brian Deegan tied to this project, and it's on basically the owner of 6 Callista, my client, to complete the project, and is subject to any enforcement orders from it. So we had a chance to review the draft order of conditions. We're in acceptance of it is pretty standard, I think, with no real tricky special conditions. So just here to answer any questions or comments that you guys may have.
Jim?
I think this question, I think, is for Matt, though. On condition number 33, about the wall designs being reviewed, it says all wall designs should be submitted to the commission or its agent for review and approval. Do we want all of them, or just within the 100-foot jurisdiction, and the other ones are building inspector, right? All of them are building inspector.
All of them will ultimately end up at the building inspector. Where these walls are of a significant height with a significant amount of fill behind them, a failure may
Oh, yeah.
it may while most of the work is outside the buffer, I feel a failure of a wall and, in a heavy rain event would likely impact the wetland resource. So that was why I included that as a special condition for the commission's review, but I would
to say where it hurts.
appreciate direction or any thoughts.
I mean, what are we gonna do with those?
Just have them in the project file.
Oh, all right.
It
Okay,
it
fine.
gets added to the project file.
All right,
and,
he's gonna have to go through the building department anyway. but
Yeah,
this
for
is-
building
That's,
permits,
I'm
yeah.
fine, okay, good
And if
enough.
I could add too, it's just the one wall, obviously the large one that's at the rear of the property.
That's within the 100-foot though.
Yeah, there's two smaller walls, but those are under 4 feet. They don't need to be structurally designed, but this wall that you see is just gonna be one plan, so it'll just be
Oh,
something
all
in
right,
the project file.
okay. I'm good.
Matt, did you have any other comments? Are there any comments or questions from the audience on this project? Okay, commissioners, you've had a chance to review the order of conditions? Yep. Any other comments or anything? Okay, can I have,
All set.
okay, can I have a motion to approve the order of conditions?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I'll send you the order.
Okay, moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item, continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for Karpinski, 116 Carlisle Road. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Chris Karpinski, 116 Carlisle Road. I've also received the draft order of conditions and have no questions with it, and I am in agreement with it, so here for any questions that you folks might have.
Do any members of the commission have any comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Matt will be in touch.
Super. Pleasure working with all
luck
of you.
with
Thank
your
you.
new
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, moving on to our,
Discussion and agenda items.
Yeah, we're a
Oh,
little
action
bit ahead
items
of
down
ourselves.
below, yeah.
okay. Matt, any preferences to,
No, we can go down the order as is.
okay, so,
Actually, Balsam, the residents of Balsam, that's a scheduled. We can do the discontinued road, that'll be quick.
okay, so, we're gonna move to the first discussion item, which is the discontinued road between Providence Road and Kersey Circle.
So this came up, I received town council's thoughts about the ownership of the discontinued road. It's shown on town GIS as a specific parcel. There were multiple avenues laid out for how public access could be achieved. At this point in time, the town council didn't feel that that there was public access granted when the road was discontinued back in 1850s. And the primary means to achieve public access, one is through eminent domain. The second is through a
Easement?
yes, a use easement where the public has utilized it for over 20 years, and you go to court to have the court order that, there is a
Adverse possession?
yes, that adverse possession easement, thank you. And the third is to ask kindly with a smile and see if any of the abutting 6 property owners, 44 Providence Road looks to have already have some language in their deed related to a public easement at the rear of the property. So it would be asking, the other 5 properties if they would donate a public use easement in the location of the old discontinued road for public's use to continue and that was my preferred avenue. You know, I'll send out letters and see what, if the abutting properties are receptive to that, because both the eminent domain and adverse possession easement.
They're much harder.
Yeah, and they cost a
Longer.
lot of money in
Yeah.
legal fees. So where the ask kindly with a smile was, you know, with a smile and a friendly letter, it was my preferred, but I wanted to get the commission's thoughts prior
I
to
agree. No, I
going forward
agree.
with that.
Definitely think that's the better way to go. I don't think
Try
I
to
don't think
do
it's
that.
worth spending a lot of money on this because we already have access to the parcel through the easement on Kersey. So that would be, and there's places to park there, you can, you know, park a bicycle, whatever, whereas this one on Main Street, not really.
Now, when you say the 6 properties, you're talking 3 on Kersey and then 3 on Providence?
Yes, and, yeah, so 112 Main Street, 48 Providence Road, 44 Providence Road, and 246 Kersey Circle.
Okay.
Those would be the recipients of a letter seeing if they would be open to donating a public easement, donating a trail easement for the use of by the public.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? No. So you're looking for direction to draft a letter to?
Yeah, I think if the commission is in agreement that that's the strategy to move forward, I can certainly
Absolutely.
draft it and move forward with, you know, a smile.
Okay.
You want a motion?
So
to that
can I have a
effect?
motion to direct Matt to write the letter with a smile?
I'll do that.
So moved.
Either way.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
We can do Balsam Circle as well. That's a quick
Okay,
just
so
update.
the Balsam Circle Enforcement Order Compliance.
Mr. Perkins of Balsam Circle, there was a request for determination of applicability and a resultingly enforcement order for the unpermitted removal of trees prior to the issuance of said determination of applicability. They have installed the conservation posts as seen here. Oh, I have a laser point. One's here. There's another one back in this general location. There are included the email that was previously shared with the commission about the they planted dogwoods and azaleas, and they did plant some lilacs and forsythias outside of the 100-foot buffer, but it certainly their intention was to improve kind of the pollinator habitat and along the rear of or at the tree line, and I think, you know, once they get established, that'll be a nice kind of buffer as a living buffer, and it'll be good for an overall improvement.
Any questions from members of the commission? So now you're looking for a motion to?
That was just an update because
Okay.
it's an enforcement order.
Okay. So there's nothing that we have to close out there, this was just for information.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, a public hearing for Sherman, 1 Fairview Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, at 7:15 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Catherine and Jeffrey Sherman for the removal of a shed and portion of a fence, installation of a new shed and fencing, replacement of a deck with a larger deck, and removal of one tree within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands, and removal of one tree within the bordering vegetative wetlands at 1 Fairview Drive.
Hey, good evening. Matthew Stengel with Land Tech Consultants, here with owners of 1 Fairview Drive, Katie and Jeffrey Sherman. Just a little bit of background on the lot. The property, it's a corner lot at the intersection of Tadmuck Road and Fairview Drive. It's a 1.3 acre parcel. Resource areas on the property include the flagged wetlands that come into the center of the property from the eastern or top of the plan down to the center of the lot. And then northeast of the property is Tadmuck Brook, and just a portion of the northeast corner of the lot is within the 200-foot riverfront area. The property was developed in 1975. Since then, there's been a couple of improvements to the property, including an addition on the back of the house in 1990, and the pool and patio in the backyard was built around 1995. Order of conditions was issued by the Conservation Commission for that work. The application tonight, the project includes replacing the existing deck on the back of the house with just a new deck. The existing deck has fallen into disrepair, and the proposed deck will just provide a more functional layout and also be safe.
And bring it up to
And
current code.
bring it up to code for the access in and out of the back of the house. Additional work includes removing this existing shed that is directly adjacent to the wetlands. And in place of that, an enclosed area underneath the proposed deck is proposed to function as the new shed. It will have a slab foundation, 10-foot by 19-foot, just for general like yard storage and pool chemicals. And then there are 2 trees that are dead and proposed to be removed. One of them is just within the wetlands adjacent to the pool. And then there is one along the frontage of Tadmuck Road. And then, the fencing, just proposing to enclose more of the backyard with fencing, except for the one tree that is located in the wetlands. All of the work is proposed on land that was disturbed during the original construction of the lot. And this work is consistent with conditions that were in the order of conditions from 1995 for work on the pool, which found that work within the previously disturbed areas would not be detrimental to the wetlands. But yeah, if the commission has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
I'd like to add that I did add a photo of the tree in the bordering vegetated wetlands. It is snapped about 5 feet. There's about a 5-foot standing trunk, and then this very nice 45-degree angle is the tree caught up in the adjacent trees between the pool. So it's, removal of a dead tree, of a broken piece of a tree that is, so it's,
So the stump stays.
yeah, the stump stays, but that caught my eye originally in the plan, and, upon visiting the site went, oh, that should be removed.
What's the story with the other one? Because that one, it looks like it's right on the boundary line between town property and private property.
Yeah, and we did just hear this afternoon. I saw an email before I was coming over here from the from DPW saying that would require a shade tree hearing. That's all I know about that.
So it's within the town's right of way, so it would need to have a public shade tree hearing.
Okay.
But that's kind
Then
of,
will the town cut it for you? That might be a good thing, if you could give it a try. Talk to Cronin.
that's not.
We'd be happy to explore.
It's not our job, but
Happy
you
to take
could
your
ask.
advice,
It's right on the line there. You might be able to save yourself some money. I don't know who, whether it's the town tree or your tree. Can't tell from the plan.
What supports the deck now? Sonotubes or?
I'm sorry?
I said, what supports the deck now? The old deck? What
I
it's,
believe it's just on footings.
Yes.
footings.
Yeah, on,
Putting straight into dirt.
So, go ahead.
No, so I'm wondering, so is this tree that's supposed to come down in the resource area?
One of them is, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the tree, so here's the wetland flag. Yep.
right.
This tree is, they located the stump of the tree. The tree is leaning at a 45, the broken
Yep.
piece is leaning at a 45-degree angle out of the tree line. So they're removing the broken part. The intent was to
taking out the
remove the
stump.
broken part of it. And then the other tree is this one
Yep, I
here.
get
Here's
that
the
one.
Yep. And it's right at the edge of the fence, which is
Okay.
faint on the.
This new fence, would we allow that right at the edge of the resource area? I mean, that's not even, I mean, that's like 5 feet.
It's, I mean, where, again, as Matt mentioned, in the order of conditions from 1995, the commission had to allowed the installation of the pool and the fence at that time as it was previously disturbed. I think it is consistent with, it is all now disturbed and lawn. I think there's a couple deciduous dogwoods within the lawn moss area. I think it certainly, it's enclosing a lawn area.
I guess if it's in the existing, but I don't think we would allow that.
Not now,
If,
but-
going forward today, I mean,
Right.
in a new notice of intent.
Yes.
It looks like some of the fencing is actually within the 15-foot. It's closer to the property line than whatever that dotted line is.
Here at the building setback?
Yeah, the building setback. Does that apply to fences as well?
Less than 6 feet,
Okay.
but that would be, and so if it's, a 4-foot chain link fence or even, a 6-foot stockade fence, that can be installed, up to the property line, over a 7-foot wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our intention would be 6 feet or shorter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have any trouble.
Are you going to plant a replacement tree for the one that's being taken down?
We'd be happy to.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it would be, if it's being replaced in the buffer, we would want a native species, and just having indicated on the plan, where you plan to put it, so that we have something to look at when we come around to doing an as-built, and giving you a certificate of compliance at the end of the project. Well,
How far away from the resource area would we normally allow the storage of chemicals and stuff like that for the pool? Like under the deck having,
I mean, under the deck in an enclosed area, where, typically, if it was a shed like the one that is existing
It would be
and,
different.
it's wood floor, plywood floor,
That-
that would be of concern. But where they're actually pouring a foundation and actually, enclosing the,
It can't get through.
yeah, it's a contained space. I think it's certainly consistent with,
It's a better place than where it is now.
that's also very much,
I don't have trouble with that.
So down here, it says, proposed fence to be installed after removing shed, but I don't see any little fence marks
It goes
or.
right across the diagonal of the shed.
It's just, there is a line that goes at like a 45-degree angle through the shed. That's just to enclose where the fence terminates in 2 corners of the shed.
In order-
It's just
Yeah,
to
you can-
just enclose that one corner.
yeah, where these hatchings.
Yeah, well, I
in-
know where it's at, I was just trying to see it.
Yeah, it's the hatchings for,
Gotcha, I see it now.
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks like it's hatching of the building.
Yeah,
not-
the diagonal through the shed.
Yeah, almost spot on.
Yeah, that was difficult to show graphically. I apologize for the confusion.
any other questions? Matt, you got any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay, so, just go to our order of conditions.
Yes, we do have a DEP file number. I can certainly have something, a draft special conditions for the applicant and the commission's review for their next meeting.
Okay, so we'll continue the public hearing to the next meeting. That's when you'll get your order of conditions approved, assuming everybody's fine with it, and that will be the end of the hearing process. So, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to May 24th?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, we have a public hearing for Desai, 15 South Chelmsford Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, at 7:25 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Snehal Desai for construction access within existing lawn areas associated with the reconstruction of a fire-damaged dwelling within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 15 South Chelmsford Road.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I am Snehal Desai, my wife Anamika, and he's the one representing our contractor. Last September we got a fire in the house, and it was a big damage with the fire, and a lot of water damage happened. So now after working with insurance and all, now we are at the point that we would like to demolish the house up to the foundation and then rebuild the whole house basically. And based on that, we need the permission to first for the demolition, and yes, and part of the plan, we are also planning to have 2 extra footings for the deck and 1 pervious patio also. So that is also part of the plan that we are planning to do.
Jim?
Is any of this project in our jurisdiction?
So originally, prior to receiving the plan, there was discussion about construction access within the 100-foot. As it's currently being shown, they're installing the erosion control outside the 100 and at the edge of lawn. So it certainly is one of those, now that we got here and got the plan, it's, you know, in the event they need to have a little bit more construction access around, you know, in the existing lawn area, I thought it was just prudent to have them come before the commission, and.
So this is just a conditional negative determination.
Oh,
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So let's
Okay.
just,
Okay, that's why we have
let's just
nothing.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so can I have a motion for conditional negative determination?
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
That's a good thing.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask, what does that mean?
It's, the minute you hear negative, it's scary, but it's not.
So,
You don't have to file anything more.
Okay,
That's the next.
finally we can start.
so Matt will be in touch with you about getting you the paperwork you need for taking the next step.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
we wish you well with the
That was as easy as we could make it.
Yeah.
Amazing insurance.
Good luck with the new house.
Yes.
So there's a ringing endorsement I'll put on the Conservation Commission's webpage. Easier than dealing with insurance.
What isn't?
Okay, moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, continued public hearing for 73 Brookside Road. Oh, no, can I have a motion to close the public hearing
So moved.
for South Chelmsford Road?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now, continuation of the public hearing for 73 Brookside Road.
All right. Damien Dimitrick with Conco Engineers and Scientists of 4 First Street, Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Here on behalf of Mag Mikhail, or Mike, 73 Brookside Road, also formerly known as the Willows Pizza Joint. So we were last here with you on November 30th to discuss the plan set for the project. It's a redevelopment project. I'll wait for
Yeah, I'm trying to
Matt
find.
to get the plans up. So it's a little.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted the summary, the transmittal, or the.
We can go to the play. The summary's fine. Either one works. We were last in front of you on November 30th, and I think Mike Toohill was here with you. He presented the plans, went through the resource areas that are, have significant restrictions, or not significant, but restrictions on the site, given it's a redevelopment. We have Gilson Brook, I believe, that falls behind the back. So we're in a riverfront area, also wetland protection zones, and then but between our site and the river is the railroad tracks. So we're coming in with this proposal as a redevelopment. We're reducing the amount of impervious. you know, and trying to, you know, minimize the amount of new construction and impact to the site, from what it was. So, we were originally coming in with a submission to the ZBA for 2 uses. Second story was gonna be an office space, and that's kind of why there's been such a delay in us coming back to you. The ZBA, through some conversations, we've removed the second use, we've gone down to a 1-story building, you know, and continue to reduce that project, and we've actually taken away our zoning variances. So we're no longer going in front of the ZBA. That was, I think our last meeting was with them on the 19th. The submission that is in front of you now was done on April 4th or 7th. Since then, we've made a revised submission. I actually just dropped off the plans with Matt this afternoon.
I provided them the landscape, or the resource area impact plan.
Fantastic.
So that we can.
So, you know, there's not much change from that submission. The biggest changes are the, you know, removal of the second story from the site plan application, and then the design of the infiltration basin at the rear of the site, which is that black area that's within the riverfront. We're keeping existing grades, we're, you know, reducing the amount of impervious. The reason that area in the back, the black area, has increased from the original submission was I was originally going in with just a simple retention pond. You know, as a redevelopment project, we don't, you know, we're not required to meet the stormwater standards only to the greatest extent practical. Through some conversations with the town engineer and the DEP, we've decided to go with a little bit more substantial of an infiltration basin. Unfortunately, it causes a little more, you know, removal of trees, but, you know, it was a previously disturbed area that has become re-wooded. And in addition, there's the railroad tracks that separates any drainage or anything like that from directly getting into Gilson Brook on the back. So that's the majority of what's gone on with the project. I know that the plans just are getting to you guys now. We completely understand that. You know, what we're trying to do is move this process along as fast as possible, you know, get you guys to review it, you know, if we can come to some, you know, draft conditions and any other, you know, modifications that you guys really deem, you know, you'd like to see, anything like that. I think the last time we were in front of you, the major concern was snow storage areas. You know, where is that going to go? In the proposed site plans, we have them shown as this little pointer area. You know, up against this back edge here. Shake all of that. Right here, you know, as it does before, and then in between the soil, the leaching field, this is going to be our main storage area. Again, trying to keep it away from the wetlands and the detention basin, give it as much time as we can to get over to that basin. And additionally, we've included this fence. It's hard to, that goes right there. That was a recommendation by the town engineer, which will have some postage, which will say no storage, snow storage here. So that will protect the infiltration basin from getting dumped in, you know, during those large storm events. But for the most part, the snow storage, you know, off pavement areas as typical with site developments. So overall, we find that it's, you know, less impactful to the resource areas. It's, you know, a benefit of a currently, you know, disturbed lot that, you know, is no longer in use. We can get some, you know, get it back up and running. You know, I've been told many times by the Willows was one of the past favorites of the town. So, you know, Mike wants to get that back up to where it used to be. So I think that if the board has any questions, we'd love to field them for you.
Any questions?
So this retention basin, detention basin, or it's a detention basin?
It's an infiltration basin area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Size for what year event?
It's, it will hold the water quality volume and greater, so that it meets the stormwater standards as far as recharge water quality volume. It as a redevelopment project, we're actually reducing the flow that comes off the site completely on its own, just with the fact that we have less impervious. So it's not sized for a particular event, it's sized for the treatment of the water quality volume, which is, you know, 1 inch over the entire impervious area, will be recharged into the ground at that location.
Just a wet basin then?
Yeah, it's an
You're gonna have it, a seed mix or anything growing in it, or?
Yeah, it's a grass landscaped area. You know, it's an
Is
infiltration.
it gonna be maintained or not
Yes,
maintained?
yeah. It should be. It's a mowed grassed area. And it's an infiltrate. You know, it's designed to be maintained, and you know, if there's sediment that runs off, there's a sediment forebay ahead of it. Both are which are grassed. You know, for removal and consistent maintenance. You know, of that area.
Plastic.
Here's kind of the contours. Again, I wanted to provide the resource area impact plan tonight for you to have in front of you, and the full plan set, reduced size, will be provided at whenever the meetings continue, the public hearings continue to. And there is the landscape plan showing the different seed mixes in different areas, the erosion control and restoration mix for is proposed in the basin. There are some the New England native warm season grass mix around the easterly edge of the property, and then the grass and forbs mix is proposed on the westerly edge, which again is certainly an improvement of.
Anything is
There
an improvement.
was say it again?
A mowing schedule.
Mowing schedule. I mean, typically the grassed areas have to be mowed between 4 and 6 inches and maintained at that height for the proper maintenance of the basin.
But elsewhere on the property, was that in the stormwater report?
Yeah, it's in the operation and maintenance.
Yeah, the
plan for
O&M.
stormwater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about the snow storage.
Yeah.
I thought I recalled, it might have been in the engineering department, had a comment about signage is fine, but signs get easily plowed over and buried under the snow, and then
Yep.
just more and more ends up in there. Could we end up with like a wooden guardrail, like not a steel guardrail like you see on?
Yeah, so that's why
95
we have a proposed stock post and rail fence. That was the addition. They originally recommended signage.
Then there was over in this area too, right?
Yeah, and this is a new snow store. This is a snow storage area, a proposed snow storage area. And then there's one over here, but there is a sign against the soil.
Right here, that's supposed to be, there's gonna be a sign right here, and what is that supposed to prevent pushing the snow this way into?
No, we're completely comfortable with snow being right there.
So that's where snow storage is
Will be.
proposed.
Right, but I thought it
Here, I'll find the plan.
says no snow storage sign is located right here.
Yeah, so there's, sorry, I moved the plan. Where's the plan that shows the?
I think that you're.
I'm too far.
I was looking at
Oh, I think
the
she.
site layout and utilities plans.
Yeah, site 3 here. That's a no storage area. So the building's over here, right? We do propose snow storage here. There's a snow storage on top. We don't want any snow storage on top of the soil absorption system. I am comfortable with it being off to the side. And, this will mostly be for those major storm events to have stockpile area.
So that's where you've got a front end loader putting it in rather than somebody with a snow plow?
Yeah, plowing it to the edges,
Well, because one of my concerns,
Sign here, it says no snow storage sign.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
that supposed to prevent?
The snow storage on top of the soil absorption system.
So you wanna keep the snow out of here, so this is gonna be some kind of a split rail fence, you said?
Yep, post and rail along this edge.
Over in this area here.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's only in this area, there's one sign to prevent the pushing snow further onto the leaching area.
Yeah.
In this area of the proposed basin, they're proposing a post and rail from the edge of, or from the, I don't know, no man's land to the dumpster enclosure. That's where the fence is, and it's to prevent snow being pushed into the infiltration basin, which would ultimately impair
All right,
the function.
that I'm good with then. This one over here, this is preventing from what, pushing this way
No, it's,
or from the parking lot?
yeah, pushing that way onto the leaching
How
area.
about some kind of a small split rail fence there, a post and rail fence similar?
you mean something more than just the sign?
Yes.
Well, and actually, do you have
Or instead of a sign,
boulders?
whatever. something instead of the sign would be
Just
okay.
in terms of a couple of strategic.
So given that that's a mounded system over there,
Okay.
I don't want to be dropping anything heavy on it.
I was, okay.
But I kind of have the same thoughts towards a post and rail fence. I don't want to be drilling too deep or putting in anything too deep near to the soil absorption system. It's a mounded system, so it's probably close to the surface at that point in time anyway. So I think a sign is sufficient. It's pretty far back from the edge, so someone's going to have to really want to push it. You're talking about, it's about the same distance as 4 parking spaces. So we're talking about, 40 feet off the edge of pavement. And there's a clear mound there, if someone's, that's gonna be a large stockpile area. We can, if that's what the commission truly feels, is, we'll take it as a condition. But I believe our preferred route is just the sign at this point in time.
Now, is there gonna be, Cape Cod berm along the sides of the 2 parking spaces adjacent to the snow storage area?
Along these, no, there's currently no Cape Cod berm proposed along those
Okay,
edges.
so there's nothing that's gonna
Right.
get crushed by a plow or a heavy piece of
Yeah,
equipment.
the only
taking
Cape
snow
Cod
there.
berm is along this back edge here, to collect stormwater and direct it towards the basin. I removed it off there, as Matt mentioned, this no man's land piece of property that is not ours, and we cannot find the owner. We believed that it was actually when the river was adjusted for the railroad, and then it got lost in the, turnover of the land to whoever it is. So I have the curb going here, and then I stop it right before so that water can kind of freely flow across, along the, landscaped areas and into the basin. And it's just gonna discharge off sheet flow off the edge of the pavement.
So there's nothing that's gonna be degraded when the snow is transported from the paved area to the snow storage?
Yes.
Okay,
I have a couple of questions.
okay.
So the first one's to Matt, actually. Page 138, if you go to the packet.
Get 138.
So the comments, all these comments, who addressed them? Was it Paul Starrett?
So they're prepared by Paul Starrett, and it keeps going back and forth between the applicant and engineering. So, this is engineering's review of the next plan set. So their first engineering's first comment was clarification is requested as to why hearing.
Yeah, there was a
Airing
few
and distances,
pages up.
and then comment, and then comment addressed is Paul acknowledging that there isn't, it's not an outstanding item that has been resolved.
So out there it says it'll be, considering making it 1 story, right? So is that finalized? It's gonna be 1 story?
Yeah, the recent submission is a 1-story, pizza place, or restaurant building. The 2nd story has been nixed from the plan set, and the application to the planning board has architecturals that show that
I see.
and everything.
And the square footage is about double, right? Or a little more than double, right? 770 to 1653? The covered area?
Yeah, 1781, 82, yeah. So it is larger. There previously was the outside patio area and refrigerator, so there was other portions of the project that were still that have now been brought inside. So if you look at the existing conditions, if we talk about, there was this used patio space that had some picnic tables, and that was also there. The fridges, storage shed, all of that has now been brought inside. With the development, we're coming in here, we want to improve upon the structure, right? We have to go through the whole process here. So adding some more space, making Mike's operations a little more easy. Having a little more space to make the pizza is going to be.
Where I'm going with this is the impervious area.
Yep.
Is it decreasing now?
Yes, yeah, we're decreasing by 1,800.
So you're offsetting something else?
Yeah, so we can see on the landscape plan up here, right? So previously the pavement covered this entire area. You can see with that slightly darker green outside of the red. So we're adding a nice landscape at the entrance here, and additionally removing pavement up to the edge of our property line, because we can't go off our property line, as much as we can there, and then around the back here. So with that, we're reducing the amount of impervious, and then additionally adding parking areas that were previously uncontrolled. There was just a paved, flat area. People would, drive in, park wherever they wanted. There's a little more control to that now. There's, gonna be painted parking lines, a handicap spot near the entrance and all that. So, we were able to, we actually have, plenty of parking spaces. Mike's hoping that he's gonna have a, high turnover, and we're reducing the pavement at the same time.
Okay.
Well,
So this is gonna be a fence, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there you said it needs to be like 4 to 6 inches of height of vegetation back there, so it needs to be mowed?
Yeah, that's the mowing, yeah.
Is there a ground cover that's native that grows to that height that could possibly be planted there instead of having to maintain that? That way it'll always be.
So, not to my knowledge, the grasses will grow more than 6. And particularly where it is a part of the operation and maintenance of this infiltration to act as a infiltration basin, it needs to be maintained at that. We don't, there doesn't, woody vegetation, any shrubs, anything really with substantial root systems, because then that degrades the slopes of it. Even though it is, 1 foot deep, you want to make sure that it is staying clear so that it can handle that volume of water. That's ultimately the goal of it. So,
well, is some of the choice of the plant mix also for nutrient uptake?
So, not necessarily in that situation. It's more for the infiltration capacity of the grass. So some clovers or something like that, which is another landscape cover that you could use that doesn't grow high, doesn't cause some maintenance. That leafy vegetation, those organics, are going to clog the bottom. Versus a grass that, it's just a simple strand that can get sucked up into the lawnmower and won't create like an organic, kind of
Biomat?
Yeah, biomat, impervious layer that would, degrade the infiltration capabilities of the basin. So we prefer to keep it, again, grass is the standard per, stormwater standards. It's not, even at that, it's not a loam and seed on the bottom, because loam has a lower infiltration rate. It's actually supposed to be the natural soil that's mixed with seasoned compost. So it, it'll maintain its same permeability at the same time, growing and stabilizing the area. So grass is, again, our preferred stabilization.
We all learn stuff.
Yeah.
Any other questions from members of the commission?
Yes, it has missed the willows.
I've been there 53 years in that, as long as I can remember, that's been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was a little later after I came here.
I have nothing else to answer.
Okay, any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Go to the.
Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Darlene Allen. I live on Brookside, so I'm kind of.
Can we bother,
Can we come to the microphone so that?
are you able to?
Oh, I gotta come up, sorry.
Yeah, you're on TV.
Oh, hello. Thank God.
Not
the
in his
recording
chair,
wasn't.
at the mic, Will.
No, you can sit.
Oh, that's one, sorry. Thought you were moving for me.
It's okay.
I'm just curious, when is the construction gonna start?
As soon as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Ideally, we have to still get through this board. We have, they obviously just received the plans, as I've noted, so we have to wait to their next meeting. We're also in front of the planning board next week. They have to draft their decisions, everything like that, and then Mike's gonna actually have to get his building permits and like that. But hopefully sometime, in this upcoming summer.
I drive by it all the time and say, oh, what a waste. So I'm glad something's going in there. That was all I wanted I just asked.
So we need to continue,
Yes, and if it's amenable to the applicant, continuing to the first meeting in January.
June.
Yes.
Not January.
Okay, so there's the,
What is it,
next
June what?
May meeting
I'm going on vacation and won't have time to draft the
decision. Understood.
the decision.
I'm going on vacation next week, so. I will be at the
Everyone's
meeting I'm
using up
supposed
their
to.
Request
vacation.
if it's amenable.
Yeah, yeah,
If
we can,
ready.
if we can make it, work
take it,
smoothly
you
with the
lose it.
planning board,
So
we're
everybody's-
happy to work with you guys.
take a week.
So, let's see, it's,
The 14th of June, is that right?
Yes.
June 14th?
so, okay, so we'll continue to June 14th and hopefully have a draft order of conditions for you.
Ahead of that,
prior to the
then,
meeting.
okay, awesome.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue the public hearing until June 14th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item. It's Spalding Hill Estates, a request to extend the order of conditions for 1 year and to request minor
You can use that.
modifications to
It
orders
stays
of
there.
conditions.
Stays there, we're good.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Long
Mark
time no
Slager
see.
from Allen Engineering, here on behalf of Spalding Hill Homes, Inc., and with me is Dave Guthrie of Spalding Hill Homes, Inc. I'm sure you're familiar with him. The commission issued an order of conditions for the construction of the roadway and drainage and infrastructure about coming up on 3 years ago. There was some delays in Dave being able to acquire the property, 2 years of delays. So we're running out of time. We want to get an extension for 1 year, and we hope within that time we'll be done with all of the work within the 100-foot buffer zone on the project, with the exception of the lots, which will require their own individual orders of conditions. So that will be our first request.
No problem.
I have no comments regarding
Okay.
the
Can I have a, can I have a motion to issue the 1-year extension of the order of conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're welcome.
The next
Haven't seen you in a long
conditions that we'd like to request modifications for have to do with construction sequencing. We've met with the engineering department and met with the planning board, and what we'd like to do is construct St. Augustine Drive. There's a reconstruction of that portion of St. Augustine Drive that needs to be done, but the construction sequence on the approved plan requires that work to be done prior to continuing on with St. Paul Lane, which is the rest of the development. The two are actually quite independent of each other. What's going on at the other end of St. Paul Lane really doesn't impact St. Augustine Drive and vice versa. When we close St. Augustine Drive, there's access that's constructed through the development all the way out to Dunstable Road. And the engineering department sees it as, it's a good alternative, because otherwise we'd be delayed.
You mean using the emergency access road?
St. James Way is the emergency access road out on Dunstable Road.
So instead of doing the development of St. Augustine Drive, you'd be using the emergency access road as the way in and out, is that?
Only while St. Augustine Drive is closed for construction. Because we have to widen the first 800 feet, which means removing some of the pavement, adding some fill, removing the curbing, making the roadway wider. During that process, that portion will be closed and the development will have to go out through Dunstable Road. That portion was always part of the plan. The only difference is we'd like to be able to do that while we're constructing the rest of St. Paul Lane, which is beyond the emergency access road, St. James Way.
You have a rough timeframe of how long you think that would take?
That process at St. Paul Lane is gonna be, right now, we're under the gun to try and get it paved by November 15th. But St. Augustine Drive, we're looking at maybe 3 weeks' worth of work or so.
So you'd be using the emergency access road as your access to getting in for 3 weeks?
Yeah. It could be shortened depending on paving schedules and how much work is actually done and whether or not there's a real need to close St. Augustine Drive. But that's always been part of the plan, that St. Augustine Drive be closed while, St. James Way be used for access while St. Augustine Drive is under construction. So that's not something we're requesting to vary from. All we're requesting is that we do phase 2 and phase 3 at the same time. If we have to wait an extra 3 weeks, that could jeopardize our ability to get the rest of the development paved in time for November 15th paving deadline. Engineering is on board with it, planning board's on board with it. They've had conditions that we abide by whatever engineering wants, and also, you know, if there's police details required, then
If they were planning on using it anyway,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
then
Yeah, I don't see
if
the
they
difference.
weren't planning on using it, that would be a different matter. But if it was always
Okay.
part of the plan, then I don't have issue.
I'm okay with that.
Do you have any comments or questions?
And that's what they're saying, so.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
okay.
Make a motion?
Yes. well,
Wait, do you want to just get through all of them and see if
Yeah,
they
yeah.
all
Yeah,
are
all the other
amenable?
conditions.
Yeah, the
were-
modifications
The
and
other
then.
Oh, I
modifications.
thought that was it, no.
Me too.
Okay,
Okay, there's a condition in the order, and there's maybe a little bit of confusion as to what the condition actually reads, and it's condition 38, which requires notice of intent to be filed for any lot upon which work within 100 feet will occur, within a 100-foot buffer zone. The purpose of that condition was kind of a reminder to whoever was developing the project that the order of conditions that was issued did not allow for the construction and development of those lots, that those would require separate orders of notices of intent and orders of condition. It wasn't put in there to prevent anything from being done on those lots up to the 100-foot buffer zone. So what we'd like to do, and what the planning board has allowed us, has approved as one of their modifications, was to allow us to go in and clear all of the lots as shown on the subdivision plan, rather than just the roadway. In the first phase, we were required to clear only what was necessary for the roadway and infrastructure, and then had to go back and clear the lots later. It was, in hindsight, in talking to the engineering, they thought it might have been a better idea to just get it all done at once, because the tree clearing equipment does a number on the binder course of the roadway, so it would make more sense. So what we're proposing and what we've done, got approved with the planning board, is to cut the trees on the lots, but no stumping, no grinding, no nothing, and only clearing and grubbing what's necessary for the roadway and drainage system. So that's what we're proposing to do. There are lots 16 through 21 where there will be work required within a 100-foot buffer zone, but we're not proposing to do anything within the 100-foot buffer zone until we get an order of conditions on each of those lots. All we would like to do is clear the trees up to the 100-foot buffer zone. So that's what we're requesting in condition number 38.
So if it's out of our jurisdiction, then why do we have say?
Well, it was in the order of conditions.
Then we have-
We have to address it.
And we might have done that just because we were worried about erosion on top of the hill and it getting away from,
Any
you know, how
slope
that
that
can happen.
That would require, or a barrier?
yeah, where you're looking to clear, is any of that on significant slopes?
Maybe one or two of the lots are on significant slopes. It's pretty much lateral. Everything slopes to the north, and the wetland is off to the west. So it's all going parallel to the wetland. We do have straw wattles and silt fence along the limit of work, but we don't have it along the 100-foot buffer zone on those lots. But we will go back in and delineate the 100-foot buffer zone just to ensure that nothing gets cut
You mean
in the
like with orange
100-foot
snow
buffer.
fence? That's
Yeah,
got a
we
guy
could
in
use,
a-
But you were proposing the actual erosion control, silt fence, straw wattles at the, outside of the 100 as the limit,
That's what I was
at the limit of work.
That's what I was asking about, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Was that what
I
you
mean,
did?
I don't know what the slope
Well,
is.
we
If it's
have-
sloping up, then no problem, but if it's sloping down, then I would like to have,
I think if I may, Jim, it's sloping, so if you come down the road, it's sloping left to right, where the wetlands would be in the back. It's not sloping towards the wetland, it's sloping parallel to the roadway.
and parallel to the
if
flow of
it's
the
not towards,
wetland.
if it's not towards the wetland, I'm okay with.
We're also not
without
proposing
that.
to really muck the area. We're not going in with an
Right.
excavator, we're not digging it up. This is the shear coming in, sliding in,
Cutting
sliding
them off
out.
and taking the trees away.
The problem is consolidation in the tree clearing industry. We're having trouble getting guys to come back for the lots, and then when they come back, they bring the oversized equipment to do a couple of lots. It's tearing up the road, so, you know, engineering has agreed. Originally, the first phase was done that way. We did the road, then we came back and did the lots, and then they've agreed, based on the fact that when you get these guys, you should keep these guys there. it's hard to get them back that do the whole thing at once.
Yeah, I get that. I understand why we did it too, to make sure that we didn't, that it, a lot of times you go in there to clear the whole thing, it becomes uncontrollable. If you don't think there's gonna be any issues with any, breakout getting down into a resource area, then I would be okay. But I know that that's probably the reason why
Yeah,
we
not,
put that
not
in there.
associated with these lots.
Okay.
It's it's that slope going towards the ultimate, detention basin.
Yeah, the
That's
wetland
the,
basin.
and,
Parallel
and that
to it
has,
and not towards it. I get that, but I just,
yeah, I certainly.
I hear it, but I'm not seeing it, so I'm just,
We do keep rolls of wattles on site too, so if we think there's an issue that's sensitive, we don't want to penetrate that area either. We're just back here under enforcement at that point, and it's
Yeah.
always less than pleasant, so.
And the engineering department, through their stormwater management permit, also has the authority to require additional erosion controls if they deem it necessary.
So the end of it is, we've had this conversation and we're making an informed decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're having the conversation and we're letting them know that we do have that concern, so to watch it and make sure that there isn't an issue. And if there is, they say they have suitable material on
So you
site to
use it.
resolve the issue.
Yeah. We also respect,
That's fine.
Okay.
Matt's, we respect his request too. If he comes out there and says we need wattles, we put them up. I mean, I think we work well together.
I never had an issue with you guys, so, if we need something done, yeah, you'll do it. So,
Yeah.
we just want to make sure we have the discussion, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Next
right.
condition?
I have one more. And this one, condition requires delineating the open space with open space markers prior to any disturbance on the lots that abut the open space. Now, we would like to just go in and clear those lots. We're not gonna clear into the open space, obviously, because it's already been delineated. But to go in and put the open space markers in before the clearing, it's not a big problem for him, but it's kind of a problem for me, surveying through the woods to get all the open space markers in. It would be a lot easier to just get it done, after the fact.
So did we do that because we didn't want them actually to physically, we wanted it as demarcation?
Again, I
Maybe.
think that.
I'm thinking that's it, so if not, then maybe they should be
Yeah.
putting some snow fence in, so that, who's ever doing the tree clearing or grubbing or whatever, doesn't all of a sudden
Right.
not realize where he is, and he goes beyond where he should be, and we've seen that more than a dozen times
Yeah, I think
before.
there's
We already have silt fence and straw wattles along the limit of work to prevent any encroachment into the open space area.
And the open
Because we're
space
already
signs
in
will go
place.
about where the straw wattles are now, roughly?
Some of it's going behind
Okay,
where the straw
around that
wattles are,
vicinity,
yeah.
okay. All right, I think it's marked enough then.
Yeah, so if it's marked, then, yeah, that's fine. Sometimes that always hasn't been the case, though.
Right. Again, which I'm sure is why this was a special
Yeah,
condition.
exactly.
And, it's, and at the same time, I wanted the commission to have the opportunity to input. And, if the commission finds these are minor modifications to the order, we can certainly,
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the 3 requested minor modification to the order of conditions? Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all set?
Great,
Okay.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Is something we need to sign?
no, not for that.
Moving on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, 12 Brookside Road, trustees at Brookside Mill, a discussion of a draft enforcement order.
I can start and
Okay.
kind of give the overview. Last week or 2 weeks ago, one of the trustees, Darlene, reached out to the building department about the stairs as shown in the photo of the leading from the Brookside Mill development towards Stony Brook. They were concerned about their safety and being to code and everything like that. Upon meeting with the trustees and listening to their concerns, the most straightforward way to resolve this to where they want to remove them, from my view, they were never permitted. An enforcement order to direct them to be removed, to renaturalize the area, and within, I think, the timeframe, I think, was 90 days, 60 days, by July 10th, to have, them removed and stabilized, and, it's kind of the best path forward where, somebody did something that was unpermitted and the trustees want to resolve it. So I can, if the trustees have anything additional they'd like to add, or they also want to
So they
just say.
simply want to remove it?
Yes.
Renaturalize it.
Great.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
But they have to come here.
They could sit in here,
So-
have them identify themselves for the record, just because they're here,
Okay.
They can't just do it without asking.
Yep, that was it. We just want to remove them and make sure we're doing it in accordance with the town, that's all. And that
You did the
going
right thing.
forward, nobody decides to build stairs without a plan and getting it approved before they start any kind of
Appreciate you
construction.
This
Coming
is
before the
the right
commission.
process. This
Yeah.
is the right process.
All right?
Okay, so can I have a motion? to rec-
Did you have any
Okay.
questions about the draft enforcement order? Did you need anything clarified?
I don't think so. I think it was pretty clear.
That's-
I mean, I can call you about the jute netting.
Yep.
You've already looked at it, so you've made the recommendation for us already, so. And then just finding some people to remove those concrete
Okay.
stones there.
Need a motion of any
So
kind?
can I have a motion to ratify the enforcement order?
So move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Signatures.
Moving on to our 7:50 PM agenda item, parcel C of Strawberry Lane, Lawton Farm, a request to remove invasive species. Good evening, for the record, you are?
Bob Graziani. I live at 37 Old Lowell Road, so I bought that section.
I've provided you with his email, kind of outlining what he's seeking to do. It's kind of, the backstory was he was doing this a couple weekends ago, and where it is on Conservation Commission property, and removing vegetation, which wanted to just have him
Receive
come.
notification.
Yeah, have him come before the commission,
Yeah, no,
get approval for it.
And it doesn't mean we don't appreciate it.
And so we met out on the site, and certainly there were substantial piles with which he'd already removed from the native vegetation in the trees. And so
So how was Bob's work? Did it look good?
yeah, it was great. I mean, it's neat,
Did a good job.
neat piles to decompose.
He wants to do more, so we let him, I say we should let him do more.
Just have a question on the disposal. He said that he's just gonna either remove them from the property. If that's the case, they'd be what, like double bagged in plastic bags or something, so you don't end up transplanting them to a landfill or something?
Yeah, so with
And then-
bittersweet doesn't really
Doesn't
regrow.
resprout?
Yeah, resprout from
Okay.
cut vegetation. So
Just the roots that left
yeah,
in the
it's the
ground when
roots
you
are
pull it.
pulling, making sure we're getting the roots
Right.
is really
Okay.
the ultimate.
So no problem with piling them for decomposition?
Exactly.
Okay,
That-
good.
I looked at numerous sites about the disposal of bittersweet, and wanted to make sure that it wasn't, we weren't going to create hot spots of, bittersweet. And yeah, just, as he sees, as he intends to clear it, just reach out to me in advance, and
So we're aware of it, and nobody else isn't. Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
I think it's not appreciated. We know what it takes.
It is appreciated. One question that I would have is if you start to find invasives other than bittersweet, do we need, do those potentially need to be dealt with differently? Like the mile-a-minute or
What he
the,
finds, yes.
Yeah.
So.
so yes, I think, if you do start to encounter other invasives, knotweed and things that are, I know there is mile a minute in portions out
The
there.
area,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so, if there are other things that you, start going, oh, what is this? And, picture this, some app, that you can use for plant identification. And you're like, oh, this is this, and it's, highly invasive. Just reach out to contact, and we can kind of make sure that we're not creating, we're removing invasives to create invasive hotspots.
yeah, so, as you find other stuff you want to deal with, involve us in the process so we know what's going on, and if, you know, if we have any concerns about how it's disposed of, we're proactive rather than reactive. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, motion? Can I have a motion to approve this request to remove invasive species on parcel C, Strawberry Lane?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And for your patience. Takes a long time to get through things.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, 103 Lowell Road, a request for minor modification to orders of conditions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, Jeff Hannaford, representing the applicant for 103 Lowell Road. We're in the process of finalizing the work on this project. They're in the process of getting the various sign-offs for the occupancy permit. We're not quite ready for the final request for certificate of compliance from the commission, but after a couple of site visits, just to give you a quick background, there are 2 replication areas. Both of those were done last year. They were inspected this year. Some of the plantings didn't make it through the winter. So Matt and I noted that. As far as the bulk of the vegetation in the replication areas, it seems to be doing well. As you may recall, there is a wetland crossing here with a box culvert that was installed last year, and a boulder retaining wall on both sides was installed. The driveway's been graded and paved. Most of everything up to the culvert crossing from Lowell Road is well established and stabilized. Crossing the culvert towards the house portion of the lot, that's the last that's been constructed or graded. So right now it's in the process of loaming and seeding. So without permanent stabilization around the house, we're not ready to ask for the final certificate of compliance. But one of the items noted to me from Matt was the conservation posts that are required on projects. It surprised me when I looked at this that the approved plan was requiring them every 25 feet. I had thought 50 feet was kind of the norm. I know that's what I had to put in at my house, and I've seen it on other projects. And when I noticed that it was every 25 feet, particularly from Lowell Road all the way up to the culvert crossing, it was 25 feet on both sides of the driveway, effectively, which would be 25 or 30 feet left to right, and then every 25 feet as you drive up. And it just seemed to me that that was a bit of overkill, and especially where it comes up and starts to curve before the culvert crossing. Yeah, right in that area, that whole side backs up to the backyard of the house you see there, which is number 105. So that's actually kind of all open, and what the post would be preventing isn't incursion into a resource area, but incursion into someone's backyard. So I just saw it as if I were the homeowner and I had to drive up there every day, every 25 feet, your eyes just, you can't not see them. and it leaves the impression that somebody started to put in fence posts and never got around to put the railings up. And I have some photos so you can get a better idea, but I just thought that it might be more prudent to do the every other. Just for the aesthetics and so that it doesn't leave the new homeowner with the idea of really not liking it every day they drive in and out, to the point where they want to do something about it themselves. So I can pass out these photos. It's not a critical item, it's just something that struck me, and especially where I put them in at my house. And I looked at them the other day after thinking about this.
That is a lot.
At 50 feet,
We can share.
you know, I can see 3 without turning my head, but they don't stand out to the point where I'm sick of looking at them every day.
That's a lot.
Especially where it's on both sides of you going up through there. If it were one side, maybe, and especially where there's like
Is
3
there
or
a way
4
to
of them.
alternate how they're put in from one side of the street to the other, so you do
Yeah,
have
I mean,
that?
again, it's, you know, the plan of record had them at 25 feet, you know, and, you know, the house,
But I'm thinking if on this side was here
That's a
and
good idea.
here, then on this side it could be here and here.
Well,
Right, yeah, if you staggered them.
But I'm just saying, so they don't look like a fence when you come through, you know?
Yeah, you kind of get the tunnel vision with them.
Well, it's a lot, I have to admit.
well, so,
And it's not attractive either.
so with these, right now where it's been cleared and we've been doing construction, is it expected that on the back side of these posts, it would renaturalize so that there is vegetation there?
Yes, for that first section,
Okay,
yeah.
and the erosion control, when I was out Monday, the site, particularly from the culvert down, is stable. It's, you know, even, as Jeff mentioned, in the wetland replication, while maybe some of the shrubs didn't survive, the seed mix is doing exceedingly well and was
Exceedingly well.
glad to see that. And so, you know, I think over time where the erosion control, where the posts are located at the erosion control, the former limit of work, I think it will ultimately naturalize back in and won't be as such a stark kind of, but I certainly understand.
And it is the one area from Lowell Road to the culvert crossing is really, there's really no reason for any real activity there. The activity is going to be around the house. The culvert crossing has 2 guardrails on either side. It's probably 70, 80 feet of guardrail. So it kind of creates 2 separate areas. I just thought, I can't imagine that there'd be anybody walking through here
No.
to the point where you needed that kind of
well, would you-
notification.
Would you, yeah, and I'm thinking about, you know, how close together they are, but I'm thinking you want to make it clear that that area is not supposed to be mowed and turned into lawn.
Oh, yeah, but like I said, I
Yeah.
have the exact same thing, and at 50 feet, it's easy enough to see from one to the other. You know, it's, at 50 feet, it's not like, well, here's one, where's the other one? You can easily see. 25 is, oh my God. Yeah. And I hadn't thought, but Marilyn's made a good point, that if you were to stagger them, then
It would catch your
from
eye.
one side to the other,
you know?
they're
I mean, I
25.
would-
So it wouldn't, you know how you look at something and you don't see it? So if it was staggered, I think you'd pick it up, you'd get that there was a pattern there. I could live with that.
And, I mean, I would request, I certainly am in favor of that, but leaving the first posts at the entranceway,
Yep,
have two
yep.
at the entranceway, and so you'll have one that's double, one that's 25 feet, but you'll have one that's 50 on the
Would
other
it
side.
be asking too much of you to go and show him where he could leave it and where he could take it
Yeah,
away?
we can certainly
So
do
you'd
that.
both be of the same,
Yeah, yeah, so.
I'd feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
All the other commission members, they feel comfortable with that? There you go.
Okay, so can,
Just figured I'd ask.
But you said before I did on the others.
can I have a,
Oh, my God.
can I have a motion to approve the request for minor modification of the location of the conservation posts?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
You realize how many times you guys say it doesn't bother you and I haven't opened it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else to discuss for the occupancy while I'm here?
I mean, not that it's ready.
Not quite ready.
Yeah, quite, you're there yet.
All right,
You will be.
thank you.
You're welcome. How's your dog?
Dog's great. Loving the nice weather.
I'm sure.
On to our next agenda item, 30 Preservation Way Enforcement Order, a request to extend the deadline for replacement plantings.
This is, I can handle this one, Madam Chair. This was an enforcement order for the removal of a couple substantial pine trees behind the structure at 30 Preservation Way. As they've been starting the process of complying with the enforcement order, they wanted to improve the wetland buffer, the extent of the wetland buffer, and so as opposed to just, plopping 4 red maples to check a box, they're requesting a little bit more, an extension of the time, as they have prepare a actual, planting plan for the wetland buffer. In, reducing the lawn, kind of stable, increasing.
get in
It sounds
trouble.
good.
So they don't need,
and
so they don't
as-
get in trouble.
Right, and if it's not complied with by, I think, if through the, fall growing through, so if there's not, if it hasn't occurred, prior to September 30th, then it's okay, but I certainly think an improved, an actual planting plan with.
Would be an improvement over checking the box.
They
Yes.
said they've also been removing invasives, so, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
That
fine.
sounds- That
So-
sounds good.
So, can I have a motion to approve the extension of the deadline for replacing plantings to September 30th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the next agenda item is for, Burgess Pond, Kai's Pond, and Old Mill / Graniteville Road, Graniteville Pond, the Westford Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative Order of Conditions extension for 3 more years.
I'm good with that.
I don't have any trouble with that either.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the 3-year requested extension?
So moved.
All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye. Moving right along.
While we're sort of on the discussion of Burgess Pond, while we're sort of on that topic, I went down there on Monday after we had a beautiful weekend. I was checking the beaches, perfect.
Great.
They're all great.
Nice.
No litter, no
Nice.
destruction, nothing.
Nice.
Everything was good.
Nice to have a good report.
I was surprised, I was happy. That's good.
Happily surprised, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Did you
moving
toot your
on
horn?
to our next discussion item,
We did have a concert today, though.
Day
the
agricultural.
day
Someday-
agricultural field
someday I wanna
concerns
go.
from the Agricultural Commission.
If I may, Madam Chair. So as Noel shared as the liaison from the commission to the agricultural committee, there were 2 items following the black plastic. I'd reached out to her. She is intending to plant this year. I did explicitly state that, all the plastic needs to be removed and inspected prior to her plowing, tilling over the field.
So it's not till then.
Right, so right, exactly. And
I think I saw a
then,
plow in there, in the property today, this afternoon.
yeah, okay, so, make sure I get out there.
It's still in the trees too.
Yeah, I mean, there's less in the trees, so
Yeah, I've heard
it's
that,
kind of
yeah.
the keeping the working. I think she's been attempting various strategies to get it out. So again,
Isn't it pretty high up?
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
I think that's
50
why
feet
she's tried. I've seen ladders there. I've seen poles with poles with grabbers on. I think there's an effort being made. I think it's just trying to find the right thing that is working. Also in their email was some just concern between the various users of the property. And as I think I included the agricultural committee's email from Thursday following up, they're working, he's kind of looking to reach a resolution with all the parties. And so I think I'll certainly follow up prior to the next meeting and provide an update. But if that's all set with the commission, we
That's
can.
fine with me. I think it's something that should be handled there.
But because we meet twice a month, we're likely to meet again before AdCom has their next meeting. If they were gonna have,
An actual, right.
yeah, they may
We'll
not.
put this on the 14th, meeting on the 14th.
Yes.
Are we talking about the concern with the rabbit poop smell?
Yeah, but it's my understanding
It's
that's been
agriculture,
handled.
it's fertilizer,
So
it's about as natural a fertilizer as you can find.
But my thought is those parties to work it out
I
themselves
agree,
as users
I
of
agree,
the.
and I think that it's already being handled.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the fact that it's not gonna happen a second time, and it's understood.
And I spoke with Elizabeth Almeida last night, and she said that they got overwhelmed with the amount of rabbit pellets that were delivered from the rabbit rescue group. And so they're gonna use what they've got, but next spring or whatever, for the next season, it's gonna be a much lesser quantity total.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they're gonna do it next season either.
Don't know.
But I do know she was gonna have 2 containers, she only has 1, so, it's been minimized, I think, in every way that
I
she
don't
possibly
think
could.
it's a real big deal right now.
And
It's gonna be better next season too. It'll improve as they use it up.
Whereas the commission's the property owner, and there are users of that property. Work it
Understood,
amongst us.
but I
So,
think an effort's been made.
I do. I
And I
agree.
don't think it's in our purview to have any more to do with that.
Received comments from a resident, Jim McMorrow, who spoke at the previous, or 2 meetings ago, provided photos. These were dated, the emails were dated, I think, just before the commission's last meeting, so I wasn't able to include it in the meeting packet at that time. And still working towards resolving, but as Jim mentioned, with weather getting nice, have notified the police department and requested patrols through the parking lot, as they can, which is certainly, I think, will be effective.
Hopefully we can do that, yeah.
I really think that we need to put in a application for a CPA piece about having somebody come and see how it works to have somebody patrol the areas for us and tell us things. And then we could see if we could get it funded from the town after that. But something to think about for the fall. I can't write the application, obviously.
Well, and that would be an application that would be submitted later and,
We only do that in the March piece.
Yeah,
We
so-
don't, we do emergencies in October if we had to. But otherwise, we always do it with money in hand. We never do it with the promise of what the money
right,
would be.
but our filing deadline would be the.
January.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the beginning of
December,
January.
Yeah, so it might be something to think about through the summer. It might be something,
Well, and also, because one of the things that we can use as input is we see how the police patrols, the things we do with new signage, we see how effective what we're doing this year is, and that can inform us what we would look.
And because there are towns that do, not too many, what was it, Lincoln?
Lincoln, I've seen a couple other ones.
Maybe Concord, I'm
as
not
well.
sure, but I think it's definitely Lincoln. I think Pat Savage told me that 1,000 years ago. But we should see what that person does, and see whether we can piggyback on the same kind of ideas and have a report from it and see what the needs are. Obviously, Matt cannot go to 2,000 acres. I mean, it's a joke. So we need somebody to look at our property. If we own something, we would check it out, you know what I mean, personally. So I just think it's an opportunity. The timing, I think, is right. I think that we have enough money in our funds to be able to do things like that, so it's my suggestion again.
So who's in charge of cleaning up this place?
Yeah.
So like that high chair out there,
the
diapers.
individual, you know, I mean,
supposed to be
if
carrying
something,
carry
you know,
on.
like that, you know, we've certainly, you know, asked Public Works to stop out, you know,
Okay.
and remove something of that's, you know, like that. But, you know, where it is, you know, the regulations are carry in,
Can't even
carry out.
imagine that.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
maybe they just forgot it.
I hadn't looked up.
In terms of the sign that you took down because of the inaccurate wording on leashing of dogs, do we have a plan or a time frame for getting an updated sign to post?
Probably within a month. would
There are
just-
signs, I went to the day beach and the girls' beach, and both of them have signs that say no alcohol, no fires, grilling.
Yeah, you know, these signs, yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking the other, did you
The-
include a picture of the other one, which basically says you have to have,
Oh, no, that was last meeting.
The number
ones-
was wrong, right?
the one that says there must be a leash with the dog?
Yeah, you have to have a leash, but it doesn't say the dog has to be on the leash.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Or that you have to be holding the leash?
yeah, so it's working
Yeah.
through some inconsistent signage.
And then getting the citation
Yep,
underneath it that Chief Chambers said would be
recommended, including. so,
recommended in
yep.
terms of, as we're issuing fines. Okay.
Is there any reason why we don't have, I mean, there's a cost attached to it, but I don't know why Friends of East Boston Camp's gonna help with this. But when I've gone to places like in Acton years ago, they provided bags and they provided a disposal unit so that you picked up the refuse from the dog and you put it in that. I don't know who cleans it, I don't know who takes it away, I don't know any of the dynamics for that, but it was provided in Acton.
One of the things, I know Marcia Stokes, and one of the things that she was thinking aloud about is that there are special receptacles that have a very small hole on the top, so really, there's not much more that you could put in it,
Oh, so
other
it's-
than a bag with,
So why couldn't the Friends buy that for us? I mean, why
yeah,
couldn't, you know,
that
that be
could be,
something that
that
they
could be
do?
something we pursue.
And we offer that for you, okay? If nothing else, take it and put it, you know?
Well, and then it becomes who's responsible for emptying,
Yeah,
monitoring
well,
and emptying.
but so we need to find out if it's a
Yeah.
cost that we have. So again, you have the Friends. We need, you know, I think we
Yeah.
need to connect it all. But I think to offer nothing is not a good solution,
Okay,
other than a sign. I think we need to offer a proper way to dispose of it as well.
okay, yeah.
I'm off my hot horse.
Is that everything for the off-leash enforcement? Okay.
I'm wound up tonight.
So, moving on to the minutes for our April 12th meeting. Any,
For the 12th and the 26th.
okay,
We need to tell our minutes taker what a good job she's doing.
yeah.
I move we approve the minutes.
Whoa, which one?
12th and the 26th.
I don't remember, I
that
didn't
has
print it
submitted.
out.
Yeah, I
She has
just
some.
had some comments, and I can't remember which meeting it was for. So let me just look at what I sent Matt. Okay, yes, because I had, so, on page 4, under 6 Callista Terrace,
Which minute?
for April 12th meeting, on page 4, under 6 Callista Terrace, I had an editorial correction. It said, the plan calls to import fill, and I just said, the plan is to import fill. And also, where I had expressed concern about water runoff, I added clarification that water runoff down the narrow, steeply sloped strip between the retaining wall and the property boundary with 8 Callista Terrace. So I just, a little bit more clarification to be very specific about what my concern was. So those were my only additions.
Okay?
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes for April 26th. Is everybody okay with them?
Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for April 26, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Executive session?
Yeah, and then is there nothing for site visits?
Nope.
Okay. So, I move to enter an executive session to consider the purchase or value of real property, as an open session may have a detrimental effect on the town's negotiating position, and reconvene in open session only for the purpose of adjourning the meeting. Can I have the motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.